Your muscles aren't just shrinking because you're getting older, they're vanishing because your body is silently missing a critical input, a biological signal it used to receive daily and now rarely gets. This signal doesn't come from exercise alone, it doesn't come from rest or sleep, though all of these are part of the equation. It comes from what you eat, or more specifically, what you don't eat. The science is clear. Muscle mass is one of the most important predictors of longevity, metabolic health, and cognitive clarity. Yet it's also one of the first things to deteriorate as early as your 30s if you're missing key molecular building blocks. Nutrients that aren't just calories or protein grams, but actual signaling compounds that tell your muscle tissue to grow, repair, and stay active. One of the most potent yet overlooked sources of these signals comes from fermented soy foods like tempeh. Now let's talk about the gut-muscle connection, because it's deeply underestimated. Fermented foods like tempeh are not just rich in amino acids, they also contain probiotics and prebiotic fibers. These feed your gut microbiome, which is a key player in metabolizing the nutrients your muscle cells rely on. If your gut is inflamed or underpopulated with the right microbes, your muscle recovery is compromised, your absorption of amino acids is blunted, and your inflammatory markers go up. Chronic inflammation destroys muscle tissue and slows repair. So when we talk about muscle nutrition, we're not just talking about protein shakes or grilled chicken. We're talking about functional foods that restore the gut, regulate inflammation, and provide the biochemical triggers for anabolic activity. Tempeh stands out because it does all three, and it does so naturally without the artificial additives found in many processed supplements. Timing is another crucial factor. The human body operates on a circadian rhythm. Hormones that affect muscle recovery, like testosterone, growth hormone, and cortisol, rise and fall across the day. The window right after resistance training or physical activity is when your body is primed to absorb and utilize amino acids most effectively. Consuming leucine-rich, gut-friendly food like tempeh during this window leads to a far greater muscle protein synthesis response than the same food eaten at random times. It's not just what you eat, it's when you eat it. And that's where people often go wrong. They train, then delay eating or consume low-quality protein sources too late in the day. By then, the muscle is no longer as receptive, and the food acts more as storage than signal. The real shift comes when you stop seeing muscle as just a physical trait and start recognizing it as a living, communicating system that needs specific molecular cues to thrive. And if even one of those cues is missing, like leucine-rich fermented food, everything else begins to degrade, slowly and quietly. That's the trap most people fall into, but it's also the opportunity, because by reintroducing that one missing food, you can flip the switch again. You can tell your muscles, we're not done yet, and they will respond. The deterioration of muscle doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, subtle process that often begins far earlier than most people realize. By the time you're in your 30s, your body has already started to lose muscle mass, a condition known as sarcopenia. This isn't just a cosmetic issue or something that affects athletic performance. Muscle is a critical metabolic organ. It's involved in regulating blood sugar, storing glucose, supporting brain health, and maintaining bone density. So when you begin to lose muscle, you're not just losing strength, you're also becoming more vulnerable to insulin resistance, inflammation, cognitive decline, and even increased risk of falls and fractures. What's most surprising is that many people who experience muscle loss are still exercising and even eating what they believe to be a healthy diet, but what they're missing is one specific nutritional signal, leucine, a key amino acid required to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Without leucine, your body doesn't get the message to build or maintain muscle, even if you're getting plenty of protein overall. This is why some people train hard and see no gains. It's not effort they're lacking, it's information at the molecular level. And that's where food comes in, particularly certain underappreciated sources like fermented soy, especially tempeh. Tempeh isn't just a protein source, it's a complete amino acid profile packed into a food that's also high in fiber, magnesium, iron, and gut-friendly microbes. When you eat tempeh, you're not only giving your body the amino acids it needs, but also engaging in a process of metabolic optimization. Leucine activates the mTOR pathway, which is the master controller of muscle growth. If mTOR doesn't get turned on, your muscle building machinery stays idle, and if it stays idle long enough, muscle breakdown begins to outpace repair. The result? A downward spiral of strength, energy, and vitality. What's even more alarming is that traditional diets, especially in aging adults, often lack high leucine foods. Many meals become carbohydrate heavy, processed, and void of the anabolic signals your muscles are waiting for. And the longer you go without those signals, the harder it becomes to reverse the damage. But the power of food goes beyond just muscle growth. It deeply affects the way your brain and body communicate. That brings us to the brain-muscle axis. Every time your muscles contract, they send signals to your brain that stimulate the release of BDNF, a neurotrophin essential for learning, memory, and mood regulation. Muscle, in this sense, acts almost like an endocrine organ, sending messages that influence your entire cognitive system. This is why people who maintain higher levels of muscle mass tend to have lower rates of Alzheimer's, depression, and cognitive decline. It's not just about physical ability, it's about neural resilience. But again, muscle can't send those signals if it's deteriorating, and deterioration happens when the nutrients required to sustain it are absent. This is where gut health plays a central role. The probiotics and fibers in fermented foods like tempeh modulate the microbiome, which in turn influences nutrient absorption, inflammation, and hormonal regulation. A healthy gut is better equipped to deliver amino acids to the bloodstream, regulate immune responses, and balance cortisol levels, all of which are necessary for muscle preservation and growth. Modern science is now catching up to what traditional cultures understood intuitively, that fermented foods have power far beyond digestion. They enhance nutrient bioavailability, support hormonal balance, and provide sustained energy for physical recovery. In the case of muscle loss, that's a critical advantage, because once you introduce the right food in the right form at the right time, your body remembers how to rebuild. It's like turning the key in a locked engine. The machinery is still there, it's just waiting for the signal. And once that signal arrives, whether it's leucine from Tempeh or another complete protein source, the entire system comes back online. Muscle loss may be silent, but recovery is loud. You feel it in your posture, your balance, your mental clarity, and even your emotional stability. That's the power of feeding your biology with precision. The body is a responsive, adaptive system. It listens closely to what you feed it, how you move it, and the signals it receives from the environment. But among the most powerful signals it responds to, especially as we age, is nutrition. More specifically, it's not just the calories or even the general amount of protein that matters. It's the presence of very specific molecules that tell the body grow, repair, protect. One of the most important of these is leucine, a branched-chain amino acid that acts as a metabolic trigger for muscle protein synthesis. Without leucine, your muscles do not respond to training, they do not regenerate efficiently, and over time, they begin to degrade. This degradation is subtle at first: loss of muscle strength, slower recovery, reduced performance during regular tasks, but left unchecked, it compounds into more serious conditions like sarcopenia, insulin resistance, and even neurological decline. That's why the food you consume, especially after physical activity, is not just nutrition, it's information. It's the difference between triggering an anabolic response or allowing your muscles to enter a catabolic state where breakdown exceeds repair. Fermented soy, particularly in the form of tempeh, offers a uniquely powerful nutritional profile to counter this process. And unlike many plant proteins, tempeh is a complete protein. It contains all 9 essential amino acids, including leucine, in a form that is bioavailable and easily digestible due to the fermentation process. But what makes tempeh particularly effective is that it does more than provide fuel. It supports the biological systems that absorb and utilize that fuel. The gut microbiome, for instance, plays a critical role in determining how much of what we eat actually makes it into our bloodstream and ultimately our muscle tissue. Fermented foods contain both probiotics and prebiotics that nourish a healthy gut environment, enhancing absorption, reducing inflammation, and supporting hormonal balance. Inflammation, especially chronic low-grade inflammation, is a major contributor to muscle loss, and yet it's something many overlook. When the gut is out of balance, inflammation rises, and your body shifts into a protective rather than growth-promoting state. Muscle tissue begins to waste. Hormones like cortisol rise. Even if you train consistently, your body is biologically in survival mode. This is where timing and context matter deeply. Consuming the right food, like tempeh, at the right time, particularly within 30 to 60 minutes post-exercise, can dramatically enhance your body's ability to rebuild and reinforce muscle tissue. This is when mTOR activation is most responsive and when nutrient delivery systems are wide open. But that's not where it ends. There's also a circadian rhythm component to muscle growth. Your body's internal clock dictates hormone release, digestion speed, and nutrient metabolism. Eating a high leucine meal in the first half of your active day or timed with your workout can produce results that far exceed what you get from the same meal late at night. That's why randomly adding protein to your diet isn't enough. It must be delivered when your body is primed to receive it. Think of it like watering a plant. If the soil is dry and the sun is out, the water gets absorbed. But if the timing is off, the water sits, evaporates, or washes away. Your muscles are no different. The decline in muscle mass and strength is not inevitable. It's the result of missing signals, often due to modern dietary patterns that prioritize convenience over nutrient density. We live in an age of protein powders and fast meals, but what we truly need is intelligent food, food that not only nourishes but communicates with our cells. Tempeh, as simple as it seems, checks every box: complete amino acids, anti-amino acid compounds, gut-enhancing properties, and compatibility with the body's circadian and hormonal rhythms. The decision to integrate it into your diet isn't just nutritional, it's neurological, hormonal, and systemic. Your body is listening. The question is, are you giving it the signal it's waiting for? Because the difference between muscle wasting and muscle building can come down to that one food you never thought mattered and the way you use it to communicate with your biology. Your muscles are far more than tissue designed for movement. They are reservoirs of metabolic activity, hormone regulation, immune response, and even neural communication. So when they start to vanish, the consequences ripple far beyond reduced strength or poor posture. What many don't realize is that muscle loss is not just a product of age or inactivity. It is often the result of missing signals, molecular instructions that tell your body to retain and rebuild muscle. These instructions don't come from exercise alone. They come from food, or more precisely, the right kind of food at the right time. Your muscles rely heavily on specific amino acids to initiate protein synthesis, and leucine is the key trigger among them. This amino acid is like a master switch. Without it, your muscles do not respond efficiently to resistance training. You can lift weights, walk daily, and stretch regularly, but if your cells do not detect leucine in the bloodstream, they assume there's no reason to grow. And over time, what doesn't grow begins to shrink. This is how muscle vanishes. Not dramatically, but gradually and persistently. The modern diet is flooded with processed foods, incomplete protein sources, and low nutrient convenience options. Even individuals who are health conscious can fall into the trap of consuming adequate protein by number, yet still miss the full spectrum of essential amino acids. This is where fermented soy, such as tempeh, becomes incredibly valuable. Tempeh is not only a complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids, but it also delivers them in a fermented form that improves digestibility and absorption. The fermentation process breaks down compounds that can inhibit nutrient uptake, like phytic acid, and introduces gut beneficial bacteria. This dual action, providing high quality amino acids and promoting a healthy microbiome, makes tempeh a powerful food for muscle preservation. It feeds both the muscle tissue and the systems responsible for delivering nutrients to those tissues. In many ways, this kind of whole food functions like a biochemical tool, adjusting internal systems for optimal performance. And unlike isolated supplements, it offers synergistic benefits that go beyond muscle: improved digestion, hormonal balance, and reduced inflammation. Inflammation is a hidden antagonist in the muscle loss equation. Chronic, low-grade inflammation, fueled by poor gut health, stress, and inflammatory foods, disrupts the body's ability to repair itself. Cortisol levels rise, anabolic hormones fall, and muscle tissue becomes resistant to growth signals. This is why some people train diligently yet plateau or even regress. The internal environment simply isn't primed for growth. Tempeh contributes to reversing this process. Its probiotic content helps balance gut flora, which in turn supports better immune function and inflammation regulation. Additionally, its high magnesium content supports muscle contraction, nerve signaling, and recovery. This is not just about building muscle, it's about rebuilding a biological environment where muscle can thrive. And that means addressing not just the muscle directly, but the entire network that supports it. Timing also plays a critical role. The body doesn't absorb or use nutrients the same way at all hours. Post-exercise is a prime window for nutrient delivery. When blood flow to muscles is elevated, insulin sensitivity is heightened, and recovery pathways are activated. Eating a high leucine fermented protein like tempeh during this window enhances the muscle's ability to repair and grow. But timing also relates to circadian biology. Your metabolism, hormone secretion, and digestive efficiency follow a daily rhythm. Aligning your protein intake with these rhythms, particularly in the first part of your active day or around your training, can significantly improve muscle protein synthesis. Conversely, eating the same food late at night may result in lower anabolic response and more fat storage. It's not just what you eat, but when and how you eat it. And when you combine nutrient-dense, biologically active food with strategic timing, you send your body a powerful message: build, don't break down. The truth is, most people are not lacking effort, they are lacking precision. They don't need more supplements, more hours in the gym, or more discipline. They need a better signal. The body is always listening, and it responds clearly to the right stimuli. Leucine-rich fermented foods like tempeh deliver that stimulus in a complete package: amino acids, gut-healing microbes, anti-inflammatory nutrients, and hormonal support. By integrating this one food intelligently into your daily rhythm, you don't just stop muscle loss. You set the stage for renewed strength, energy, and resilience. Your muscles aren't vanishing because of age. They're vanishing because they're missing the command to stay. Tempeh might be that command. Muscle is one of the most underappreciated predictors of longevity, health span, and physical resilience. While many people focus on cardiovascular health or weight management, the truth is that skeletal muscle is a biological powerhouse. It stores glucose, regulates hormone functions, supports joint integrity, and even communicates with the brain through molecules known as myokines. So when muscle begins to vanish, a process that often starts as early as your 30s, it signals a quiet, systemic breakdown. This isn't just about aging. It's about missing biological inputs. Your body isn't programmed to lose muscle. It's designed to adapt. But without the right signals, it defaults to efficiency, which means reducing the metabolic costs of maintaining tissue that isn't being actively supported. One of the most powerful ways to maintain this support is through precise nutrition, specifically foods that deliver not just protein, but the right kind of protein in a bioavailable synergistic package. Leucine, a branched-chain amino acid, is one of the critical switches in this equation. Without it, your muscle cells don't receive the anabolic signal to grow, no matter how hard you train or how much general protein you consume. Fermented foods like tempeh are a superior source of this signal. Tempeh isn't just a plant-based protein, it's a complete amino acid source, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids your body can't synthesize on its own. But it's more than that. The fermentation process enhances the bioavailability of nutrients, pre-digests difficult to absorb plant fibers, and introduces gut-friendly bacteria that transform your digestive tract into a more efficient nutrient extraction system. This is critical because your gut is where nutrient absorption begins and ends. If your gut is inflamed, imbalanced, or lacking in beneficial microbes, the best protein in the world won't get where it needs to go. What tempeh offers is a dual impact. It provides the raw materials, amino acids, and optimizes the machinery to deliver those materials into your bloodstream. It is a food that actively participates in your metabolic and muscular health, not just passively nourishes you. The connection between gut health and muscle is more profound than most people realize. Your microbiome regulates everything from inflammation levels to neurotransmitter production to hormone balance. When the gut is out of sync, inflammation rises, and that inflammation erodes muscle tissue by creating an environment hostile to repair and growth. This is one reason why people with chronic gut issues or autoimmune conditions often experience muscle wasting. By consuming fermented anti-inflammatory foods like tempeh, you introduce regulatory microbes that help balance immune responses, support digestion, and reduce systemic stress. These changes don't just improve digestion, they shift your entire biological state toward one of recovery, balance, and growth. That's why diet cannot be separated from muscle health. They are two sides of the same system. The final piece of the puzzle is timing. Human biology is governed by circadian rhythms, internal clocks that regulate sleep, hormone secretion, digestion, and cell repair. Muscle growth is no exception. The body's anabolic response is heightened during specific times of the day, especially in the hours following physical activity or during your body's natural daytime active window. Eating a food like tempeh during these periods enhances its impact dramatically. Post-workout, your muscles are more insulin sensitive, your cells are more receptive to amino acids, and your digestive system is primed for absorption. This is the window in which the right food becomes a signal, not just fuel. On the other hand, consuming even the most nutrient-rich food outside this window, like late at night, may shift the body toward fat storage instead of muscle repair. This is where precision matters more than quantity. One well-timed meal can outperform 3 random ones if the signal is delivered when your biology is listening. It's easy to blame age, metabolism, or genetics for muscle loss, but in reality, muscle is one of the most adaptable tissues in the human body. It responds rapidly to the correct inputs: mechanical tension, adequate rest, and targeted nutrition. The key is not to overwhelm your body with more volume, more protein, or more supplements. The key is to send the right signal consistently and clearly. Tempeh is one such signal, a complete food that activates anabolic pathways, restores gut balance, and delivers measurable metabolic benefits. when used intelligently, aligned with your circadian rhythm, timed with your activity, and integrated into a nutrient-dense lifestyle, it becomes more than food. It becomes a tool. Your muscles are listening. What they need is the command to stay, and that command is built into the structure of what you feed them, day by day, bite by bite.